Ben Askren became a fan favorite after joining the UFC, a fact which I'd say surprised even him, considering the reception he received earlier in his career. A lot of people welcomed him as a wholesome alternative to some of the more vulgar trash talk we've seen in the last couple of years. Common sentiment said that he's clean, he's got a lighthearted, basically friendly demeanor, and yet he manages to win most verbal exchanges and get under people's skin.
My thing is, if you're going to talk online, you're going to come at me with a certain energy. When you see me on site, keep that same energy. That's it. That's it. That's how I am.
Dude, we fight in a cage. What, I mean, I don't understand what more there can be. Like,
listen,
we want to introduce weapons?
Listen,
or what
young
do you want
man.
to do?
Listen,
like,
young man. You know what?
I'm older than you.
Congratulations.
At the core of this is the fact that Askren is very clever when it comes to figuring out a way to interpret any event in a manner that reflects horribly on his opponents. He is the ultimate version of that guy who always has to have the final word. In that pursuit, Ben has seemingly unlimited energy. He will win the verbal war of attrition. Nothing you can say will shut him up. He'll always have an answer and get in that final word. On the 28th of February and in his show of supreme confidence for his debut against Lawler, Askren announced that he would be cage side for Till vs. Masvidal.
So what is it? I already got my plane ticket booked.
You're going to fight there?
Well, I mean, if someone were to get hurt, I would, but I was more just going to force a call out of Darren Till or Jorge Masvidal, whoever wins that fight.
True to his word, Askren made it through Lawler, but by the skin of his teeth, initially getting wrecked by Robbie, who looked fucking ruthless. Robbie's arm went limp momentarily, and erring on his cited caution, Herb Dean stepped in. If Robbie had been out, he appeared to have come to by the time of the stoppage, and the fight divided the sport.
Bad stoppage. And one of the things that you don't do is jump right up and say, what the fuck did you just do? You know, you just never happens that way.
I was thinking when it was over that Herb Dean made a mistake, but the more I watch it, the more I think he didn't.
As far as, I loosened the choke, that's why he came to. No, you don't loosen the choke until the ref pulls you off of him or you pop his head off.
Kamaru Usman changed my mind.
Nobody's going to know whether he was conscious or unconscious. I saw everything that would indicate I'm seeing an unconscious fighter. I see an arm go limp for no reason whatsoever. So that's what I have to work with.
He's like, what the fuck you doing? And you see Herb face go, oh no, he realizes right away he fucked up.
But despite the controversy, as soon as the fight was over, Askren put Robbie in the rear view.
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to fight the winner of Till Masvidal. I think that makes a whole lot of sense as far as the division is concerned.
As a favorite, most of the tension was between Till and Askren. But Ben wasn't going to be put off by a Masvidal upset, and he dragged George into the whole thing by bringing up a training session from 2008. I actually don't like Jorge Masvidal because I hammered him at ATT when I was training MMA for 2 months, and he wants to pretend it didn't happen. I don't like liars. But what's the reality here? This is another example of an insult where if you add in all the context, it's almost meaningless. According to Masvidal, the training session was in a wrestling setting. Ben had literally been to the fucking Olympics earlier that year. If he wasn't able to out-grapple a mixed martial artist from a lower weight class, it would have reflected horribly on him. But the insult, "I whooped your ass in training," sounds like he was a better fighter overall. And it did appear to get stuck in George's head. Later you could see the pure disdain he had for someone talking about training.
Like, I'm the type of dude that if we train, you go to American Top, and let's say I get lucky and I tap you out twice. I'm not gonna ever tell nobody that. But there's some people that violate that man code of gym. And they go, I went to American Top Team, and like, he's that type of pussy, you know? Like,
Askren had done an excellent job of self-promotion. He was a major subject in the build-up for Till vs. Masvidal, which was a pain in the fucking ass for George, who seemed to be aware of the exhausting nature of trading insults with Ben. He tried to avoid even mentioning his name.
for one, we won't even mention no more names on my interview of these guys because we just gave them a whole lot of press, bro. Nobody even knew those bums before you mentioned them right now, you know?
But of course, Ben was later able to spin this as weakness.
George is making excuses that whole week about why he didn't want to fight me, but he wouldn't say my name. It was like this little thing that he does.
Masvidal tried to call him out for not taking a Lawler rematch.
You see the replay as a man. You see the replay, and you see that he has a thumbs up. I never seen somebody sleeping like that. I would say, let's do it again. I'm going to fuck you up without a doubt. Show it to the world.
And again, Ben was able to get in the final word here.
The reason he's saying that, and every other welterweight is saying that, is because they don't want me to be on their dance card next. Isn't it obvious? Do you really think that Jorge Masvidal is so passionate about Robbie Lawler's career that he needs me to go take that fight again? He's not. He doesn't want to be on. He doesn't want me to be with him. That's what he doesn't want.
Anything you do, Askren will find a way to interpret it as a weakness. If you talk about him, he's in your head. If you don't talk about him, it's because you're too scared. And he clearly enjoys putting a clever spin on events. Shortly after Masvidal smashed the fuck out of Till, Askren went in a trash talking about how George, whose stock in his sport was at an all-time high, was afraid to fight him.
And data came out and said this morning they're looking to do me and Masvidal. I heard that. I said yes last week. It didn't take me more than 10 seconds to say, of course, George, let's do this. You think you're a gangster? Well, now I'm starting to hear he's getting cold feet. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to fight me because he's scared. George, just tell the people, are you scared? If you're scared, I will move on to somebody else. If you're not scared, June 8th, Chicago, I'm free, you're free, let's do this. It's really simple. The winner's probably going to get a title shot, George, so there's quite a bit on the line, and I think it would be in your best interest to stop being a chicken and just say yes.
Masvidal responded and was clearly, the guy was just loving the buzz from his win over Darren Till.
Hello everybody, I'm back stateside, enjoying my little vacation, and I'm coming back. I got these two little sluts. You might know them or you might not. One's not in the top 10, and the other one that hasn't got a victory in the UFC. Didn't make the dude tap Robbie Lawler and didn't put him to sleep, but you think you have a win in the UFC. Who are you fooling? You can fool the crowd, but you can't fool me, Playboy, because when I seen you in the hotel, what did you do? You ran away like a little bitch when I tried to talk to you, and you were, I wish you good luck and we'll talk after your fight, and I was pretty ready to slap you up if you said anything disrespectful. Thank goodness you didn't, and you walked away. So what do I care to fight you or the other guy? I'll let my management decide. You keep hitting me up all you want, though. You're little sluts,
But ultimately, Masvidal hadn't verbally agreed to the fight in his response. He said he'd leave it to his management, which Askren picked up on.
It's simple, George. Yes or no. Stop making excuses. Stop being a wimp. Just say yes. I'll see you June 8th in Chicago.
Askren had characterized Masvidal as being scared, and while I didn't agree with the idea that George was afraid of Ben, I did think there was a good chance he'd try to avoid him. On multiple levels, Askren is exactly the type of pain in the balls Masvidal hates. Askren is an incredible, imposing wrestler who's likely to take you down, control you for large portions of the fight, and grind out a decision or stoppage. If Askren were to beat him, it would likely be in a deflating manner that would utterly crush the hype from his last win. Masvidal's last two losses were fights in which he was outpointed, and that's why he relished the Till fight. He knew it would be a war.
When he scraps, man, he comes to fight. That's what I come to do, is fight. He's not trying to hug my leg, try and hunt me or point fight, He's a scrapper. I like to feel alive, and this makes me feel alive.
I want to knock Masvidal out, I do.
Let's do it, man. Let's scrap.
And outside his unlikely friend Colby, Askren is the best current embodiment of a personality type George hates and has been rallying against for years.
What am I going to say? Oh, you're a punk, and then he calls my mom names. It's fucking childish, I get it. For the 17-year-olds, they're fucking eating this shit up, and, maybe a little bit older than that. Maybe some people never got out of high school, but if it's not like a genuine dislike, between two people, and it's not creative either, where it's just that fucking annoying shit talking like, you're an idiot, well, you're stupid. Man, it's fucking so stupid, man. And the media fucking building that shit up, asking questions. Hey, so-and-so said you can't dress. Who the fuck is so-and-so? Why are you asking me on my interview about fucking so-and-so, bro? Fuck so-and-so, you know what I'm saying? My fans don't even know who the fuck so-and-so is, and they ask me about so-and-so all the time. And numerous people. I'm fighting number motherfucking 3 in the world. Think I give a fuck about number 37 in the world?
So I could not see Masvidal taking a fight. Ben was just a headache he didn't need. But I was wrong. A day later on March 29th, Masvidal vs. Askren was announced. And predictably, Askren immediately began a barrage of insults. George created a funny meme on a 3-piece in his soda.
So I had to give him the 3-piece with the soda. And then just glide out of there,
But Ben has come up with a funny way to get the final word on that.
And George needs to know, I don't get full on a 3-piece and a soda. He better bring the whole damn family meal for that night.
I think it's probably to the thing where he didn't know what he was saying. Sometimes people say stuff and they don't realize it's funny, and then everyone else catches on like Like, I'll give you a great for example. Like the girl that said, "Cash me outside." How about that?
George whoops 2 asses in one night. Askren spins it as mental weakness.
Man, I don't understand. Listen, and I get I'm a fighter. I don't understand people that walk up and just punch people for not really a good reason. For me, it shows 2 things. Number 1, total lack of discipline. Like, that's not cool. You can't just go punch someone. So you lack the discipline that you get so angry you can't control yourself and you have to start throwing your fist. And number 2, that you are not really secure with your own masculinity, that you see, oh my God, he said something. I need to go prove I'm tough. Hi-yow, I am tough.
I feel like a lot of people would agree with Ben there, but it's a perfect summary of the different philosophies of the 2 men. Askren has alluded to the fact that the wrestling culture is to goof on each other. Whereas while Ben was goofing around with his wrestling buddies, George was throwing down in the street. His philosophy is much more of a talk shit, get hit, words have consequences variety. And he threw these punches as naturally as your knee might fly up when a doctor taps it with a little hammer. Like Ben has characterized George as weak-minded. Oh, you said something I don't like, so I'm gonna lash out. But I think the only part of that George would disagree with is that it's weak. He literally sees things exactly the opposite. It's a guy who talks shit and expects to take a picture that has been misled about the nature of reality. That's just not how it works for George.
And then he talks so much online. Then I could have respected him a little bit if he had held to his guns, but I see him in London. And as soon as I see him, I start walking towards him. He goes, hey man, I'm gonna spare you. I'm not gonna say nothing till after your fight. Ben, don't do me no fucking favors, bro. You say it online, then when you see me, what's up? Hey, how are you? Hey, picture?
That's basically a perfect summary of different philosophies. Askren thinks you're weak-minded if you lash out, while Masvidal thinks you're dreaming if you think you can talk shit and get away with it. But either way, Askren has once again figured out how to spin events to reflect horribly on George, and it did get under his skin. And of course, he doubled down on George being weak in training.
Well, you know, there's some guys, and this is where there's wrestling MMA, you grab a hold of them, and they're just not strong at all. And you think, there is no way on God's green earth this guy could do anything to me. It's totally impossible. I will do whatever I want to this person. I will dominate them. I will humiliate them. And when I grabbed George, even though I was only 2 months into my MMA career with no fights, that's how I felt about him. I can't assume that's very much different.
Masvidal heard all Ben's yapping, and it appeared he did become enraged.
But I don't like this dude, man. I want to break his fucking face, man. I want to break his fucking rib cage, and I don't want to knock him out early on. I just want to torture that guy, man. If I get the chance to torture him for 14 minutes and 50 seconds before I stop him, that's what I'm going to do, man.
Ben was then asked about why George was so mad, but it was pretty obvious. Askren had been talking shit for years. They have drastically different views on the reasonable repercussions of trash talk. He had been bragging about a training session from 10 years ago. He called George mentally weak, and the guy's very nature seemed to offend Masvidal on a visceral level. But Askren ignored all this, and instead explained George was mad because he was jealous of Askren's paycheck.
Right. I would say he's pissed that a punk white kid has came into the UFC and is making over double him, and I've had no history in the UFC. And so, you know, in his head, that's unjust, and he doesn't like that, and that's unfair. And, you know, to that I would say, well, listen, there's a reason I've made my brand so valuable, and there's a reason I get paid what I do. And if you look at any type of metrics, which you have, Ariel, so you can verify this for me, is my numbers are looking pretty damn good, George, so suck it.
Wow.
I gotta be honest, if I put myself in George's shoes, Ben Askren is just fucking exhausting. And I'll tell you what, it's that chirpy, upbeat demeanor that would wear me the fuck out more than anything. Because it kind of hints at the fact that he enjoys it back and forth. He loves spinning things, and he has unlimited energy to do so. He would wear me the fuck out. By mid-June, Masvidal sounded furious.
If I don't like you, like Ben Askren, for example, I'm gonna make him piss blood for a month because I'm gonna f his kidneys up. I want to destroy his legs so he can't walk, and every time he walks, he thinks fucking Masvidal, bro. Oh, yeah. Don't question my manhood, first of all, ever, and second of all, especially you, because you're you know, you're beta. You know, you survived off I don't know what, man. But I'm gonna make sure his bloodline doesn't reproduce or nothing after July 6th.
Oh my God!
He made Askren sound like an annoying social media fly buzzing around his head.
Man, for starters, I'm barely on the social media, so every once in a while my manager, somebody shoot me a message. Ben said this. Half the time I don't even respond because it's just like a multitude of corny shit, you know, and man, he's not my chick. I'm not going to go back and forth with this guy, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be texting with him. I have problems texting my chick back and forth. I'm going to do it with a dude now.
Yeah.
On social media, that's below my pay grade. You know, they don't pay me enough in this f***ing sport to be bickering with this guy.
Ben basically took those comments as a victory in a psychological arena.
But when you say stuff that's like as crazy as that is, it's so obvious that I'm under your skin. I make you upset. And then you can't even verbalize why I make you upset. And so you know if we come in contact again, that is only going to get worse, right? It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And generally speaking, a very high majority of the time, people who are that angry fight very poorly.
And that pretty much summarized Askren's whole strategy. Frustrate and annoy his opponents off their game, to the point that they don't perform optimally. But on fight week, we finally got to see them face off. Ben taunted Masvidal and tried to question him on why he was so mad.
Well, I got a question. All these reporters ask me why you're so mad. I'm kind of curious. You are mad. Yeah. You can't stand me. Why not? No, I looked at you. I said I was busy. I go to the bathroom. Come on. Answer all that.
Masvidal looked a little uncomfortable, like it was awkward. But surprisingly, this was not an intense stare-down. The soundbites coming from George continued to communicate murderous intent, which, as Ben pointed out many times, seemed to indicate that yes, Ben was in his head, this was personal. But Ben later posted a video of the two behind the scenes, and while there had been some vicious soundbites from George, the most natural piece of footage we had of the two didn't suggest a guy who was seething with rage. On the contrary, Masvidal seemed like a guy who was salivating at the prospect of finally answering all Ben's provocations inside the fucking octagon. Masvidal seemed full of confidence. He looked like a child on Christmas Eve. And a couple days later, it did not take George long to unwrap a wicked fucking ass whooping. A perfectly timed, earth-shattering, record-breaking flying knee. For anyone who might claim luck, Masvidal's team quickly rolled out ample evidence that this was a game plan. And so the rivalry ended both with a bang and a whimper. It was sensational, but blink and you missed the whole fucking thing. After the knee, George landed a couple shots that reminded me of Hendo on Bisping. Earlier on, I mentioned that Askren was exactly the type of opponent George hates, on multiple levels. The other side of that is that he represented the sweetest victory. Now with his opponent out on the canvas, the satisfaction of that set in. George clowned around and mocked the stiff, toe-curled, rigor mortis-like concussion of Ben Askren. In the aftermath, he was challenged on the unnecessary nature of the additional shots and the showboating.
I saw some criticism. People say the punches weren't really necessary. Maybe
They were super necessary.
Why were they necessary?
What do you mean, why were they not necessary?
Because he was already knocked out at that point.
But the referee hadn't pulled me off. And my job is to hit somebody till the referee pulls me off. So to those people, I would say maybe don't watch him and maybe go back to soccer.
A major criticism of the showboating was that it was classless. But it has always been Masvidal's take that words have consequences. You draw it on yourself.
There's not too many people that I've disliked, and he's one of them, you know. He talked about my manhood, talked about my culture, my ethnicity. Where do we draw? Why do certain people get to do stuff? You online, so you could do anything. Everything is cool before a fight. You're allowed to do and say whatever you want, like other fighters are not doing, talking about people's religions, wife, even kids. That's cool. But after a fight, I'm not allowed to showboat and rub it in your face so you and guys like you could see it and be like, maybe I don't talk so much shit, because when I cross one of these real motherfuckers, they're gonna make me pay for it, man. They're gonna embarrass the shit out of me. And it's not over for Ben either. He still has to deal with me. If I see him at Whole Foods, I'm gonna still slap that dude up because I don't like him.
For his part, Askren handled the loss well. He even defended Masvidal's right to throw those strikes.
I knew what I signed up for. Do I like George Masvidal? No. Dude, if you asked me before the fight if George knocks you out, he's gonna take a few extra shots, I would have said, "Yep, he definitely is." You know, so that's if that's what he wants to do, that's fine.
And he was philosophical about the loss.
Well, I got nothing to hide from. Obviously, mistakes happen, losses happen. Saturday night was definitely not ideal for myself, but I got nothing to complain about.
The matchup was interesting simply as a clash of styles and personalities. A rough-and-tumble street fighter whose first love was boxing versus a clean-cut collegiate standout who wrestled in the Olympics. A guy who understands the importance of self-promotion against a guy who's unwilling to blur the lines between acceptable trash talk and legit disrespect. A man who has seemingly unlimited energy for trading insults versus a guy who just does not want to bother with that shit. It was another one of those glorious photo-negative matchups. But most notably of all, together they revealed two completely contradictory philosophies, both of which you gotta respect. As I said, Ben took the loss well, but the most impressive thing about him for me was how he responded to the backlash.
I feel like I probably deserve it. You know, I've been antagonizing people for about a decade now. Now, I'm not reading everything they're antagonizing me with. Obviously, I'm scrolling through it. I don't want to dwell on that. But, you know, fair enough. I always figured when this point happened that I would get I'd get lit up, and I'm not paying attention to it, but I'm sure I am. I'm getting lit up.
That statement reveals Askren as a pretty self-aware guy who knows exactly what game he's been playing. I have to admire people like that, who can say things like, yeah, I brought this on myself. Because to me, they live in reality. They get it. As he said, Askren had antagonized every asshole he could for a decade. In the UFC, it served him exceptionally well. But when the whole thing collapsed, he said, hey, you got me. Today's your day. Enjoy. Even if you're not a fan of Askren's trash talking, you have to respect the fact that when things got ugly, he took responsibility for that ugliness. Personally, I just like when people understand and recognize the full nature of the dice that they themselves have chosen to roll. So, good for Askren. That soundbite reflects pretty well on him. And as we know, Masvidal also has a philosophy, and it's very simple. You know, you might not agree with George getting physical with Leon Edwards, but Leon Edwards could never claim that he had not been warned multiple times by Masvidal himself that this three-piece was coming down a pipe. George has clearly rejected the idea that talking trash is just part of a game. He has stated words will be met with violence, and in doing so, he has made that violence easy to avoid. If you do not want these hands, do not cross these lines. Otherwise, it's on you. And so when he relishes closing the biggest mouth in his sport, a lot of people want to judge him by Askren standards, by the standard of someone who accepts shit-talking as an acceptable part of the game. But Masvidal has never accepted that. That's not his philosophy. And because he's been absolutely clear about it, again, you gotta respect it.
You fuck with me!